درود رفقا، امیدوارم حالتون درجه یک باشه. اسم داره و خیلی خوش اومدید به یکی دیگه از ویدیوهای چنل من. امروز اومدیم ریاکت کنیم به 2 تا داستان ترسناک که یه ذره بگرخیم دیگه دوره هم. بزرگترین حمایتتون از من اینه که چنل من رو سابسکرایب کنید، زنگوله بغلیشو بزنید که هر وقت ویدیو گذاشتم اولین نفر شما باشید که میبینید، و همینطور اگر از ویدیو خوشتون اومد حتما ویدیو رو لایک کنید. بریم سراغ ویدیو.
When I was 15 years old, my parents decided to go visit my uncle. I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay home and hang out with my best friend Alex, since we lived in a quiet
رفیقم الکس
neighborhood and there was little crime happening there. My parents allowed me to stay home and have Alex over. My mom left a
پدر مادرش هم راضی‌ان.
note on the fridge with all emergency numbers, and my dad told me to call him if anything
What؟ شماره پلیس و اینا رو بلد نیستی؟ FCC یعنی؟ اوکی.
happens. I assured them that everything's gonna be fine. Me and Alex were just gonna play video games and have some pizza later.
آره خب فقط همینه.
I called Alex and he came to my house 15 minutes later. We played UFC on my PS4 for 2 hours and then at
آها الکس پسره. آخه الکس اسم دختر. کنسل قضیه. بریم.
pizza. After our meal, we just sat in the living room talking about random stuff. Eventually, we started talking about girls.
بیا من دارم میگم ولش کن.
Alex mentioned a website where you could talk to random people called omegle. He also said that he talked to some girls on there, so we decided to go on omegle and try our luck. For the first 30 minutes, we didn't get matched with any girls.
این مشکل ما هم هست. ما هم تو ورژن ایرانیش به هیچکی بر نمیخوریم.
And we were starting to get bored. And just when I was moving my mouse to close out of the web page, 2 girls showed up on our screen. They were about our age, maybe a little older. We started
آن 2 به 2 نایس. چه خرشانس هم هستن.
talking to them, but they were just typing. We could see that they were trying to talk, but we couldn't hear them. We told them to turn on their microphone, but the girls said that they don't have a microphone. We continued talking to them. We said that we were home alone, and so were they. They said that they lived in the same city as us, and the same area as Alex and
تموم شد دیگه چی میخواید؟ خیلی خرشانسن اینا.
I. But we've never seen these girls before. I thought this was odd because our city's pretty small. After 15 more minutes, they said that we were cute and that we should hang out sometime. We were stunned. Girls usually don't want to hang out with us, so Alex gave them a Snapchat username. As soon as he typed his username, the girls disconnected. We were really bummed out. We didn't even get their names. So we just turned off my laptop and went back to PS4 to play some video games. Some time passed. We were still playing video games when Alex took out his phone. He had just received a snap from someone called AnnaXOXO99. He opened it, and it was a picture of the 2 girls we met on Omegle earlier. They were walking on a street, and the caption said, "Can we come over and hang out?" Alex immediately looked at me. He didn't ask me anything. I already knew what he wanted, and I said no. He wasn't happy about this, but he understood at the same time. Alex texted them saying that he can't come over, and that they should hang out some other time. A couple of minutes later, the girls responded, "Can we meet at the park then?" So Alex asked
دخترها چه پیگیرن؟ داستان چیه؟ من نمیدونم. به جای اینکه این 2 تا پسر پیگیر باشن اون 2 تا دختر پیگیرن. کنسل قضیه.
only 10 minutes of walking from my house, but I still said no. At this point, Alex was a little frustrated, and he said he was going with or without me. Maybe he was right. Maybe I should go. Am I really going to pass up on an opportunity like this? I looked at my watch, and it was 10:30 p.m. So it wasn't that late. And my dad's friend lived right next to the park, so I said I'd go with him. But if anything seemed strange, we would immediately go back to my place. Alex agreed. He sent the girls a snap saying that we were on our way to the park. They replied that they were waiting for us at the children's playground. We got out of my house and started walking to the park. The whole walk there, I was thinking, what if something goes wrong? We don't even know those girls, and what if someone else was at the park with them? I didn't want to say anything, because Alex probably would just say I'm paranoid. So I kept my thoughts to myself. After 10 minutes of walking, we got to the park. The children's playground was a little deep into the park, so I asked Alex to ask them to come to the main entrance of the park because we were already there. Alex just said, "Dude, come on." And
Dude, come on. آره الان یه کمانی بهتون نشون بدن.
texted them that we were at the park. After a minute or so that we arrived at the playground, there was no one there. I asked Alex if they responded to our last snap, and he said no, they just opened it. We waited there for a couple of minutes, but there was no sign of the girls. We were all alone in that park. I told Alex that they were probably just messing with us and that we should just go home. But Alex wanted to stay
اسکلتون کردن داداش.
a couple of minutes more. A minute passed, and that's when we heard someone walking behind us.
یا
We turned around, and there was a guy dressed in
Oh
black,
my god این کیه دیگه؟
standing behind a tree looking at us. He had a creepy smile on his face. I said to Alex that we should go home.
باورتون میشه 2 دختر رفتن ببینن، رفتن یه دونه مرد ولش کن. بریم سراغ ادامه.
home and that this wasn't a good idea. Alex agreed, and we started walking back home. The whole time, I was looking over my shoulder, trying to
یا رو صورتش بخیه از چشاش پر خونه، ترسناک فلان. اونو دیدن. خب به نظرم الکس برگردیم خونه.
اسکل پشو فرار کن.
see if the man was following us. And he was. I told Alex, and we instantly started running.
چه عجب تازه شروع کردن. خوبه پیشرفت کردن.
Just when we got to the park's entrance, the guy grabbed my hand and started screaming in some insane way. I was screaming and kicking, trying to get him to let go of my hand. I was calling Alex to help me, but he ran away.
الکس رفاقت رو نگاه کن. رفاقت رو باید میده.
The guy started pulling me back into the park. I was screaming as loud as I could, and that's when I saw blue and red lights. The guy must have seen them too, because he immediately let go of my hand and ran deeper into the park. I started running back to the direction of my house when a police officer stopped me.
پلیس چه جالبه. چقدرم ماشاءالله چربیا رو.
Explained everything to him, and he called my parents. The police officer took me to the police station to wait for my parents to pick me up. My parents came after about an hour, and the police officer told them what happened, and so did I. My dad asked if they...
الان مثلا یه سوال دارم. به پدر مادرشون یا پلیسا چی گفتن؟ گفتن اومدیم حول بازی در بیاریم، مثلا یه قاتل ما رو پیدا کرد و این داستانا؟
caught the guy, and they said they were still looking for him. When we got home, my parents were glad nothing serious happened, but they still were mad at me because I left the house to meet some girls I was talking to online. They told me to go to sleep and that everything will be alright. The next day, Alex came to my house. He was with his dad, and he apologized for running away last night. He also said that when he got home, he opened his...
دیگه به درد نمیخوره این معذرت خواهی. اسکول فرار کردی بابا، باید کمک میکردی، رفیقته.
Snapchat, and there was no sign of Anna XOXO99. It was like she never existed.
پشماشون ریخته ها اینجا. خب رفقا این از داستان اول بود. خب واقعا ترسناک بود دیگه. تو فکر کن با 2 دختر قرار بذاری، بعد بری ببینی یه قاتل وایساده که منتظر توه. حالا معلوم نبود واقعا هم قاتل بود یا چیز دیگه. خدا رو شکر اون پلیس با اون شکمش اومد کمکمون کرد، وگرنه معلوم نبود چه اتفاقی میفته. بریم داستان بعدی رو ببینیم.
For some context, I'm a teenage male, and this happened when I was around 17 years old. Back then, I used to see all these videos on YouTube.
خسته نباشی. من اندازه تو بودم 25 سالم بود. الان خودم 25 سالم نیست.
About omegle horror stories and pranks. Now, I'm not particularly brave or anything, but if I'm bored, I often find myself going to drastic measures to find something to do. After thinking for a while, I built up the courage to go on omegle. I wanted to be funny, so I didn't
چه زندگیایی که خراب نکرده این سایت واقعا.
respond to anything or anyone. I then came across this guy that kept saying for me to talk or else. And
حرف بزن میگم.
being a teenager, I wanted to make him mad, so I asked what he'd do in the chat. All he said was, You should talk more.
بیشتر حرف بزن. بچه واقعا اینا ترسناکه ها. اگه تو اون موقعیت باشیم ترسناکه واقعا، ولی خب تو اون موقعیت نیستیم پس بخندیم. قرار بود این ویدیو ترسناک بشه ولی نمیدونم چرا فان داره میشه.
And then left. I feel pretty proud of myself for being a jerk, but slightly disturbed, so I turned omegle off to work on some homework due the next day. After a few minutes of doing homework, I heard my dogs barking, and they wouldn't stop
سگ هام.
even when I told them to. I figured maybe somebody made a loud noise, or even had a dog whistle. After calming down my dogs and getting back to my homework, I heard the noise this time. Somebody had knocked at my
What the fuck حاجی، فکر کردم اینجاها دارن در میزنن. چقدر واقعی بود صداش.
back door. My back door is gated with a 4-foot fence and a lock. The only way somebody could get in is if they had a key or jumped it. After looking outside for about 10 minutes, I called my dad and told him everything. He told me that when he gets home, he'll look around. I accepted that because he's a doctor and he's got a lot of work to do. Half an hour passes, my dogs are outside, and that's when I hear a thump outside my door. I looked around.
Holy
There was
shit.
a rock with a note stuck to it. After that, I heard my dogs barking at our driveway. The note read, I know where you live. I've never been this
کنسل حاجی، میدونه کجا زندگی میکنیم. حالا چیکار کنیم؟
scared in my life. I just feel lucky to have 3 dogs in my house at all times. Now, I'm not the kind to show emotion or get scared easily, but that freaked me out. I'm shaking and on the nerve of calling the police.
چون اینجوری میدرسه.
Was this just one big coincidence? Or did the same guy from Omegle really somehow figure out where I live?
Maybe. خب رفقا، این 2 تا ویدیو ترسناک بود. حالا ما داریم الان میخندیم ولی اگر تو موقعیتش باشیم واقعا خب یه چیز خیلی ترسناکیه. اگر از این ویدیو دوست داری، اگر ریاکت دوست داری، حتما تو کامنتا بهم بگید که اگر خواستید من پارت 2 شو بسازم. و اینکه امیدوارم خوشتون اومده باشه. لایک، ساب، زنگوله، کامنت فراموش نشه. خیلی دوستتون دارم. مراقب خودتون باشید.
فعلا